All right. So it looks like we've got most of our attendees have logged on. Maybe we'll wait another minute or so, let a few more log on, and then we'll get started. For those of you who have just joined us, welcome. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure there'll be a few more people joining us, but welcome and congratulations everyone on getting accepted to UC Davis. We're super excited to have you join us today. This is basically a Q&A session for people that are either considering UC Davis and still haven't decided, or maybe you've already accepted and you have some questions. We have our advising staff here, so we have staff advisors as well as some of our peer advisors who are also students in the sociology department that are here to answer your questions. So we're going to start off by just doing some brief introductions, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A. I know some of you have already submitted questions, so we'll make sure to answer those as well. As far as the Q&A, we do have the question and answer chat open, so you can feel free to put in your questions then. All right, so I'll start off since I already have my mic open, but my name is Carolyn. I'm one of the staff advisors in sociology. I've been at UC Davis since 2015 as an advisor. I was a UC Davis undergrad in psychology quite some time ago. After leaving Davis, I worked at another university in career counseling roles, so I have a lot of background in that as well. And I love working with our sociology students. I think they're really great, and I really enjoy my job. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next person, let them introduce themselves. So Michelle, if you want to go ahead and go for now.
Yeah, so hello everyone, my name is Michelle Barrett. I am the second advisor for sociology. I've been with UC Davis since last year, so it's officially been a year now. And prior to this, I was working for Cal Poly, and then I did go to a UC. I was at UC Merced for undergrad quite a few years ago. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Kelly?
Hi all, I'm the last third of the sociology staff advising team. My name is Kelly, and I was a student at UC Davis long ago, and I have been an advisor in the social department since 2014, and just love working and getting to know with our sociology students. There's just so many different opportunities within sociology and how students want to pursue things after they graduate with the major. So it's a really great place to be. And we'll now let our peer advisors introduce themselves. Let's start with Mallory.
Hi, my name is Mallory Sharon. I'm a current senior about to graduate after this quarter. I am a double major in sociology and psychology. This past year, I studied abroad in Italy, which was an amazing time. So if you have any questions about studying abroad, definitely feel free to ask. What else about me? I was involved in a few clubs. I was a part of the running team, the UC Davis cross country and track. So I've been involved in that, and I'm also in a Christian fellowship. So yeah, those are some things that I've been involved in. So I'll pass it on to Jennifer now.
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer. I'm also in my senior year, it's my last quarter. I transferred to UC Davis 2 years ago. I transferred from Norco College in the Riverside district, and currently I am involved in some research and like a project I'm working on with a graduate student at UC Davis called We Are All Students. So sharing narratives and stories of students who have been previously incarcerated or have or formerly incarcerated or system impacted. And so we share their stories on a social media platform. We've been doing like a pilot program on Instagram and creating posts. And then I also, I am on the pre-law pathway. So if anybody has questions about law, I have been exploring that. I did participate in the outreach program that is through the King School, which is UC Davis's School of Law. So if anybody has questions about that as well. Thank you. And I'll pass it on to Tyler.
Hello, my name is Tyler. I am also graduating this quarter, so I'm a senior. I'm a sociology major with a minor in education. And some things I've been involved in, I'm doing research with a professor right now who I took a class with, the sociology of religious studies. And I'm currently doing research with her, developing her class for actually this quarter and her current class for this summer, which is a stratification class. I'm currently pursuing a career path in counseling. So after I graduate, I will be continuing my education at Sac State for my master's in counseling. And I've also done research in the education department. So if you have any questions about that, how to get involved in research or opportunities, I'll be willing to share my experience. And then I will pass it on to Christine.
Hello, I'm Christine. I'm the last of the peer advisors for sociology. I'm also a senior graduating after this quarter. Yeah, it's very sad. But I spent some things I've been involved in. I spent my fall quarter this year in Washington, D.C. interning through a program called UCDC, where UC students get to go to Washington, D.C. for a quarter, live there, work there. So if anyone has questions about that, feel free to ask. I've also worked for the athletic department for a few years in the marketing internship. So I got to work with a lot of really cool people, and I got to do music, and I worked all the audio at football games, and so I've done a lot of work with that. So those are kind of the things that I've been involved in if anyone has any questions.
All right, so I think what we'll do is we'll start with some of these questions that were asked earlier, and as well as I see some questions are also being put into the Q&A, so feel free to keep adding those in, and then we'll try to get through everything, and then if we run out of questions, we have some prepared questions that we can throw in there as well. So one of the first questions that was brought up is people wanted to know what their career options are as a sociology major, and then what they needed to go and do to pick a route and go that route with sociology. So I think I'm gonna let Kelly answer this question because I know she loves to answer this question. So I'm gonna turn it over to her for the answer.
Yes, yeah. So sociology, I think, is just such a broad discipline with the ability to, really study and answer so many relevant questions, right, of our time that we're seeing, especially in real time right now during COVID. And I think, the great thing about the major is the flexibility in what people can do with it after. And so really, when we get this question as staff advisors from students, the answer is really whichever path you want to pursue, you can apply sociology in that path. So we have alumni who are ranging from being in the business world, doing like human resources or things within data analytics. Education is a very popular path, whether that's in the classroom or going more on the administration path or education reform, law and society, things around criminology, the criminal justice system, public policy around those issues, or potentially pursuing being in law enforcement, so things within the criminology path. And then the health professions. We have a lot of students who are, pre-health, whether that's pre-med, pre-nursing, but pursuing sociology to get a more humanistic view of medicine as they prepare for that path, or more and more we have students who are interested in going into the public health realm. I think potentially with what is happening right now, that may increase even more. And there's probably lots of different, government, public policy and all these various issues. And then people pursuing graduate degrees potentially in sociology or other social sciences, in addition to things like social services, counseling, and clinical psychology, those kind of avenues as well. So as you can kind of see, I mean, the list can go on and on. Those are just a few of the different options our alumni have pursued. But I mean, really, with this major, the nice thing is you're not committing yourself to one specific career path. It's a very adaptable major, which I think, especially right now, is important. Just, you know, the future is unpredictable, and it's always been unpredictable, but especially right now, it's unpredictable. And I think it's just from a career counseling point of view, we like to say it's just good to have a major that can adapt with you instead of just preparing you for one career path. So I think that's a huge benefit of being in the social major. Nice foundation, strong writing skills, problem solving, critical thinking, looking at all these very relevant societal issues. And then you can go so many ways with how you apply that. So I don't know if any of our peers, I mean, you all probably have thoughts on that, but you could hear from our peers, you know, the different directions they're going or they're wanting to pursue. It really varies. So of course we're biased, but we think Soc is a pretty good option for a major.
I also wanted to let everyone know, as they're thinking about sociology, some of the different options we have as far as emphases to study. As Kelly mentioned, there's lots of different career paths, and the emphases don't necessarily have to connect with your career goals, but more what you're interested in studying. So we do have a sociology general emphasis, which is very popular because it's very flexible. Students can pick and choose their classes a lot more with that particular emphasis. We also have a law and society emphasis. We have a lot of students who are interested in law or going into the criminal justice system as a career, or just may want to study those kinds of things. So in that particular emphasis, you do take a lot of courses related to criminology, criminal justice system, law, juvenile delinquency, violence and equality, things like that are some of the core courses you would be taking. There's also a social services emphasis, which is pretty popular for students who want to go into the social service field. It has some psychology classes that you would do, as well as a lot of ethnic studies or race and ethnicity types of courses that are put in there, as well as some social issues courses. So the curriculum is just a little bit different. We also have a comparative studies and world development emphasis, and that one has a little bit more of an international spin to it. You do get to pick a region of the world to study, and with that, it's a little bit more interdisciplinary. So some of those regional classes are not necessarily sociology classes. They could be history or religious studies or anthropology, or through one of our other ethnic studies departments. So there is a lot of options there. We also have the sociology organizational studies major, which is a separate major than sociology, but still an option for anyone who is thinking they want to go that route. And in that one, you're looking at kind of how organizations function and how society impacts how organizations function, as far as bureaucracy and things like that. And then the opposite way, how organizations impact society in different ways. And so there's a lot of different tracks in that one. There are people that are interested in going into business. There's a business and society track. There's also a public policy track and a nonprofit track. So those are some things that students are pretty interested in kind of specializing in. So I just wanted to put that out there as you're thinking about sociology as your option. There are several options just within our department for you to choose from.
And we do have the question I see from Ashley and from Matthew going along with that of maybe one of our peers can answer this, maybe Jennifer or Tyler, since you were transfer students. Did you know which emphasis of SOC you wanted to be in when you came in, or did you figure that out as you went along in your first 2 quarters? And how easy is it to switch between the emphasis areas? I'll answer that real quick because it is something where you do need to finish the curriculum for one of the emphasis areas. So it is more of a binding decision in terms of you can't, you know, take classes from all the different curriculum. You have to at some point decide which curriculum you're going to follow for the emphasis area. But there is flexibility in you don't have to make that decision necessarily from the time you set foot at UC Davis. Maybe Jennifer and Tyler can talk about their process of when they figured out which emphasis they were doing.
I guess I get to start. For me, coming in as a transfer student, I honestly didn't know which pathway or emphasis I wanted to do. So I started as general. And then once I took a couple classes, I think you can get a feel of what track you want to take. A lot of the classes really overlap with each other, especially if you're doing like a law and society. There's just some core classes that all sociology majors need to take. So I think you can figure that out, and it's really flexible. I ended up staying in general just because it is flexible, and I could take classes like in the law and society track that would fulfill the general emphasis. So for me, it really worked out for my career path, as I was able to take specific classes and other emphases. And like Caroline said earlier, it's really flexible with the general emphasis. So that was my experience. I don't know about Jennifer's.
For me, coming in, I already knew I wanted to do law and society emphasis. So at my community college, I did get opportunities to get involved politically. And so then I also took some like race and ethnicity classes at my community college, and I really enjoyed that part of sociology. So then when I found out that there was a law and society emphasis, I followed it on assist.org, and then I made sure that I did all my lower division courses. So for me, I already knew off the bat which emphasis I wanted to do. But I know that when I applied to Davis, I just did it as sociology general. So once I went in and I did I think it was like your first required advising appointment you have to do. That's when I let them know that I want to follow the law and society track.
And I wanted to answer one of this question that's kind of related to that Jade asked about when you set up your meeting with your advisor, because Jennifer just mentioned you get to meet with your advisor. So for orientation this year, you will have access to the orientation modules on June 1st, which is the Aggie 101. So you'll go through those modules, and then after that, you'll be able to make an appointment with us. And so we will be doing remote appointments. Myself and Michelle and Kelly, we will be dividing you all up and meeting with you individually with our Zoom session. So you'll get to ask your individual questions. We can talk about the different emphases if you have questions about those. And so I think that would be a good time for you all to kind of pinpoint what that's going to look like.
All right. So Christine, can you talk a little bit more? Matthew has a question about the DC. I think he's asking about the DC program and the UC Washington program, and just your experience of how that kind of applied to your Soc major.
Sure. So the program, like Kelly said, it's a UC-DC program, meaning that all UC students can attend. So I got to go. I interned with district attorneys from all across the country, which was, it was really exciting. And like Jennifer, I am on the pre-law track. I'm planning to go to law school next year. So I'm studying for that right now. But the UC-DC program is really great, and it does count towards, you do get some units for it for taking a class there. You get 4 units per class that you take. So I only took 1, but you can take up to 2. And then you also get 8 units for completing your internship. So while I was there, I got 12 units total, which is basically a quarter's worth of units. So it didn't set me behind at all. And because sociology is a flexible major, it fit right into my requirements. It didn't set me back at all. And you do get, those units can count towards your upper division sociology requirement of just like 8 elective units basically. So I got to use my UCDC units to fulfill my elective upper division requirement for the major. So it was a really great experience too, and it's a great resume builder. I've made really great connections from it, and I do know a bunch of transfer students that that were there. So it's an option for a lot of people, and I highly recommend it. I'm very biased, but it was the time of my life, and I made some really good friends, connections, and it set me up really well for my career.
Awesome, thanks.
And then I think we'll answer this question that was put in earlier about what research opportunities are available for sociology transfer students. And I'll just generally answer that in that we have lots of different research opportunities going on in the sociology department. Faculty, lecturers, and graduate students are all working on research, and they do need undergraduate support in that. And so we have a lot of students, even transfer students, that come in and do research with those particular entities. Typically, you do get academic credit for doing the research, and so it does fit into your academic plans, which we can help you with at a later date. But there's lots of different things. We have people that are studying education, policy, all sorts of different things, immigration, and I know Jennifer worked with some research opportunities. If you want to share kind of what your experience was like, because there was several different things that were involved in what you did, and if anybody else has any other comments as well.
So I'm very interested in the criminal justice aspect of sociology. So my research, the way I got involved with it was the TA for my criminal justice class did an announcement in class asking if anybody was interested on, he had a couple of projects going on, so he was pretty flexible on which one you wanted to work on. The first one I hopped on was the age of reentry, which was basically studying older adults in the incarceration system, the adults that were basically, that started getting incarcerated during the 80s, during the tough on crime era and the war on drugs, and kind of seeing how their life is and how it is that they keep cycling through the system. And then kind of looking at policies that were going on from 1980 up until now, and to see how that affected them being in prison and getting out of prison. And then from there, I transferred on to his We Are All Students project, which was more aligned with, because for me, I do have also interest in education. So I was actually able to combine the two. So advocating for education for all, because I am also minoring in education. I have a minor in education. And so combining my love for like criminal justice and learning more about it with education, I hopped onto his other project quite flexibly. And currently right now, we still do meet every Friday with the rest of our group. So we went from meeting in person to remotely. So we do Zoom meetings, and we discussed about the various posts we made, get recommendations from students. So in case like there's something we missed, or maybe a way that we could make that post more impactful for other people to look at, and to destigmatize students that are formerly incarcerated and system impacted that are trying to go back into education.
I guess like piggybacking off of what Jennifer said, I know someone asked a question. Oh, Alfonso asked a question like what makes our sociology department different from other UCs. And I really think those research opportunities, as well as our professors, everyone can go online to our sociology department and see like what kind of research our professors are doing. But I think the professors are really there for the students, and they're really personable and approachable, and there to help like each and one of us. And so that's what I found like that I love about the sociology department at UC Davis is like all the professors are really there for the students, and they're willing to work with you and try to find research opportunities for everyone. You just have to be willing to ask and make that connection. So yeah, if anyone else wants to add why they love sociology or our department.
I also think it's a great department. A lot of professors post their research opportunities, or like Jennifer said, TAs will discuss their research in class. So it's a really accessible major. And I have a lot of great connections from the department that have written me letters of recommendation. And while I personally haven't been involved in any research opportunities, I have had I have an extensive knowledge of it, and like being in the department, and my professors letting us know. So it's not something that's hidden. Like they want you to do research, and they encourage students to do research. And like Tyler said, the professors in my experience have been very personable and really willing to help with advancing your interest, career interest, etc. So yeah.
So why don't we move on to another question about study abroad. Somebody is asking how study abroad program works for sociology, and how would you get involved as a transfer student. So for this particular question, I'll say there's lots of different study abroad programs that you can take part in, and our department is very vested in letting you have those opportunities to go abroad, and so we will work with you to try to fit it into your academic plan and make it count for some of your course requirements to the best that we can. So you can go to a UC Davis study abroad program, a UC EAP, which is a university-wide program, or there's some other internship type programs and things that students do. As far as the process and how it would work, you definitely would want to connect with the advising office on an individual basis, and we could help you figure out how to work that into your plan. And then maybe Mallory could talk a little bit about how she did it and how her courses counted in her major and all those things.
Yeah, for sure. So I personally did a UC EAP program, which is the UC-wide program. So and I went to Florence, Italy for a quarter. So I met a lot of different students from other UCs, like UC San Diego, UC Santa Cruz, UCLA. So it was really cool to kind of get to meet other students. And we're all from like UCs. So I think we even met some from like Minnesota and stuff too in a different program, but they were around. Yeah, so I personally did UC EAP. There are definitely other programs that you can go through, like UC Davis also, so that you're with students that all go to UC Davis. But I personally didn't do that. But yeah, there's just a lot of options, like Caroline was saying, for different ways you can study abroad and different types of programs. Yeah.
And I would say it's very rare for someone to have to stay longer. Usually when they do a study abroad program, even as a transfer student, we can fit it in within the 2 years. Sometimes, obviously everybody's situation is a little different. Sometimes maybe they'll stay an extra summer or extra quarter so that they can do the study abroad. And it's usually because they looked into the study abroad programs a little late in their time here. But most of the time students can fit it in within their 2 years and wouldn't necessarily have to stay longer than what they had planned originally.
Yeah, and also I forgot to add about courses. Sometimes there's courses that are already pre-approved to count towards your major, but like personally for me, there was a class that I took which was like it was like a food culture class. So I talked with Kelly and tried to figure out if that could count towards my major, and it was able to. You just send you like make sure you keep the syllabus, and they'll look over it, and sometimes they can approve the classes for you to count towards your major. So I actually had one of the classes I took count towards my Soc degree, which was amazing. So yeah, there are ways, even if they aren't pre-approved, if you meet with your advisors and talk with them, they can sometimes work things out if it looks like it could count for credits towards like a specific area of your degree. So yeah, that was really cool too.
Another related question to study abroad is whether or not you can study abroad multiple times as you want. So anyone want to answer that or have experience with that too?
We've definitely had students that have studied abroad multiple times, so that definitely is possible. There are some limitations around that. You have to do a certain number of units at UC Davis in order to get your degree and things like that. And so if that's something that you're interested in, definitely bring that up with us in an advising appointment, and we can kind of help you figure that out. But yeah, I've definitely seen students who have gone to different places. They'll maybe go in a summer and then they'll go again in another quarter or something like that. So So it is possible for sure to go to multiple places and do multiple study abroads.
I'm seeing the question from, and I'm sorry mispronouncing names, but Serini. If someone wants to go into social work, is it recommended to do social services or the law and society route, or can it be a mix? So like Carolyn, mentioned earlier, you can really pursue, any career path with any of our emphasis areas, because at the end of the day, you're getting a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. The emphasis area is actually not on your diploma. It is listed on your transcript, but it's not on your diploma. So, we would urge you to think about which mix of classes, when you look on our website under the different emphasis area curriculums, which mix of classes, you find most interesting, and then really have it be based on your interests of whether you're more interested in the social services curriculum or the law and society curriculum, and you can still pursue counseling grad programs or things in social services, social work, things like that with, any of those emphasis areas. So it's really about interest in terms of what kinds of classes you want to take. If someone else asked this question as well, can you do multiple emphasis areas? And at the end of your time at UC Davis, you need to finish one emphasis area's curriculum. So you can't take half of the courses from, the general emphasis and then the other half from law and society and kind of mix it together to graduate. Ultimately, you will need to decide which curriculum you're going to follow and fully finish.
Another question that we see here too is how difficult is it to switch into the sociology major as a transfer student if you're coming from a different college, so like ag or engineering? We do have a lot of students that consider changing their majors once they get here, even as transfer students. And so you would work with an advisor to figure out what that would look like for you individually in terms of your experience from a community college. And so it's possible. We just want to make sure that we're working with you on your academic plan to be able to have a successful academic plan for the 2 years or more that you might be here. So yeah.
And you do have to be at UC Davis 1 full quarter before they'll let you switch your major. So you'll obviously need to meet that requirement. And then for you to come into sociology, we require a C or better in a sociology class taken at UC Davis. So if you're someone who's in a different major thinking of switching into sociology, you probably will want to take a sociology class your first quarter at UC Davis. So that way at the end of the quarter, you'll be eligible to switch in. But you can definitely meet with our advising team prior to coming into the major. And we can help you figure out a plan and recommend some courses and things as well.
Yes.
So there are questions around when can folks, I know it was asked earlier, and Chelsea is wondering, when can they start meeting with a counselor and register for classes? Do you want to talk about the Aggie advising kind of structure, Carolyn? And it starts June 8th that transfer students can start making those appointments with us.
Yeah, so as far as we know, I know everything's still on time as far as you getting access to Aggie 101 on June 1st. And so you'll go through those online modules starting at that point. And then like Kelly said, June 8th is when the first appointments will be available. So as far as that's concerned, we will need you to wait until that time because you do have to do the Aggie 101. You won't be able to make an appointment until you've completed the Aggie 101 modules, and you will not get access to those until June 1st. So, so that's kind of how that timeline will go. And then registration isn't until August. I believe it's the second week of August is when transfers start. There's 2 weeks worth of registration. You'll randomly get assigned a registration time in 1 of 2 weeks in August. And so there's plenty of time between June and August for us to meet with you all and make sure that you have what you need to make informed decisions for your August registration time. So it's fine for you to wait until June to start these appointments. Someone did ask the question about taking summer classes, and you are eligible actually to take summer classes at UC Davis if you'd like. If you want some advice on some summer classes, we definitely can give you some advice. You can reach out to us via email or talk on the phone or things like that. It won't be your official Aggie registration appointment. You'll have to make another one after the Aggie 101 modules, but we can give you some advice if you're thinking about taking summer classes about which courses you may want to take. There's 2 summer sessions. Summer session 1 starts in the middle of June and goes to the end of July, and then summer session 2 starts in August and goes to the middle of September. So with those timeframes in mind, most of our new students typically do the summer session 2, and there are still some seats in some of our sociology classes if you're interested in doing that.
There's a question about major-specific scholarships, and we do have a somewhat new undergrad research award. I think Carolyn knows the most about that, plus the Laughlin Award. I don't know if those are really considered scholarships, but they're awards within the department.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that those are scholarships. They're not something that you would receive with expectations of them paying your tuition or anything like that. You would want to work with the financial aid office about other scholarships that you could apply for. There are not any that I am aware of that are specifically for sociology, but that doesn't mean there wouldn't be scholarships that you could apply for through the financial aid office. So definitely work with they have a specific advisor there that works with people who want to apply to scholarships, so you'd want to connect with them. With that said, what Kelly had mentioned about the Undergrad Research Award and the Laughlin Award, the Undergraduate Research Award is given to students who want to do an undergrad research project, and so those funds are used to fund their project. So if you have something that you want to research, you have a research question, a lot of times we have students who do like an honors thesis, and they oftentimes will apply for this funding, but it can be used for other things. So let's say you're doing an undergraduate honors thesis and you're researching a question where you need to travel someplace to interview people. So you may apply for funding to have those travel costs reimbursed. So you would apply for the research grant, and then we have a committee that decides who would get those funds. And so if you're awarded those, then you would get reimbursed for your travel costs. So they're not used for tuition or anything like that, but they are used to help fund some of your projects. The Laughlin Award is something that we have for sociology students who have written research papers either in a class or they've done like an honors thesis or some sort of paper that's that caliber. It's usually a $500 award, and so once you complete your paper, you turn it in. We're actually about ready to do the spring ones right now, so they're due usually in May. You'll turn those in. A faculty and graduate student committee reads the papers and decides on the winner. Those winners will just get $500. So that's usually, again, not applied to your tuition, but it would be $500 that you would have that you could use in whatever fashion you wanted to use it in. So hopefully that answers that question. Somebody's asking about EOP and whether they would meet with EOP or meet with us. My understanding is that the EOP students will meet with the EOP advisors for orientation, but we would be happy to meet with you as well. So I would go ahead and follow the directions that they give you as far as making your appointment, and then if it's with the EOP advisor, that's great, and you can definitely work with them, but then you can go ahead and also make an appointment with us, and we can help you with your major specific questions as well. And then I think Jennifer wanted to add to that. So did you want to add to that, Jennifer?
Yeah, I'm actually an EOP student as well, but I've met with the department advisor more frequently than my EOP advisor. I don't think I've ever met with my EOP advisor actually. I've only attended the orientation that they usually have us do, but now that everything's remotely, I'm not sure how they're going to go about it. But what I do is utilize their resources a lot. So that is what I mainly do, but I never really went for advising. I did use like their, they always announce stuff that they have going on in the cottage. So it's always good to keep up with that and take advantage of what's offered to you. Yeah, but for me personally, I never went to go see my EOP advisor. I always met with my department advisor, but I'm still currently an EOP student.
Okay, so somebody's asking questions about waitlisting for classes and things like that, and specifically if a class gets full, can you add the first day of class? We do have wait lists for all our courses at UC Davis, so when you sign up, when you're registering, and you'll get more information about this in your Aggie 101 and all of that, but there will be a Pass 1 and a Pass 2 time that you'll be assigned. When Pass 2 starts, that's when you can start waitlisting for courses. If a course is full, you'll add yourself into the wait list, and then the wait list just kind of works itself through as people drop. The person who's number one on the wait list will automatically get into the course. So if you're, pretty high on the wait list, maybe 10 and below, you probably have a good chance of getting in. If you're above that, depending on the course, the wait list may move pretty quick or it may not. So you probably want to think of some other courses just in case, but you could also reach out to some of the faculty and see if they're going to add any students and things like that. So sometimes there's ways to actually get into courses. We don't do things as I know some of the community colleges do, where on the first day of class, anybody who attends class a lot of times will get added in. It doesn't work that way at UC Davis. You do have to work your way through the wait list unless the professor gives you special permission to add in. But I can say, even though some of our courses do have big wait lists, because they're good courses and they're popular courses, most of the time, by the time you graduate in 2 years, you'll get to take the course that you wanted to take. I think that happens more times than not. You definitely will be able to graduate on time. We don't have anybody who isn't able to graduate because of the wait list being so long. We'll do course substitutions if we get to the point where our courses are so full, or we've had to add in extra courses in the past to make sure that graduation goals can be met. Our department is very, very cognizant of that, and we really do want students to be able to meet their graduation goals.
I think the last few questions, or at least two of the three we have remaining, are around, again, the research opportunities and how to get involved in research. And Jennifer, I think it was your first quarter that you worked with Dr. Patler, right? Am I remembering that correctly? No. Okay, I'm not remembering that correctly. Well, for those of you that have Tyler and, folks who've gotten involved in research, can you just say a few words about how you did that? Is it, people want to know, is it something you have to submit an application for? Is it just talking with a faculty member or grad student? Just what's the process like of finding those opportunities and how to actually get involved?
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about it, and then Jennifer can probably chime in too. So to get involved in research, usually Kelly or Caroline send out an email with like professors asking, like showing their research, and you can just reach out to them. But other ways that I recommend getting involved in research is to just make that connection in class. So in class, just be like an active learner, ask questions, visit the professor's office hours, because that's really where you'll be able to make that connection, that personal connection with your professors, and even TAs as well. They also have research opportunities. So when you make that connection, you can just ask them, like, do you have any research opportunities? Or another good way is, if you find someone's research very interesting, you could just like look up their research online and then shoot them an email and let them know that you're looking for research opportunities, and if they have any opportunities to let you know. And yeah, just making that personal connection, I think, is really important to gaining research opportunities. All about just asking questions and asking if they have any opportunities. Jennifer?
Yeah, I did it by just going up to my TA after class. My TA did make the announcements a couple of times. I didn't go on the very first day that he made the announcement. I probably went like on the second or third day. I am kind of shy. I'm a little shy student, so I don't really, it's kind of hard for me sometimes to make connections with professors. So for me, it was a lot for me to go up to the TA and ask, oh, I'm actually interested in your research. I've never done research, and I just want to see what it's like to do research. And so he was actually really excited, and he told me to email him. So I made sure to email him to remind him and reintroduce myself through the email. And then after that, we set up a phone call meeting and told me more about the research and the other projects that he's involved in case I did want to transfer, because his goal, kind of like what Tyler said, their goal is more to have you enjoy doing what you want to research. They don't want to force you to research something that you're not interested in. If you're not interested in it, it's okay to let them know that I'm not really feeling this research, unfortunately, because that's kind of like me. I think he kind of recognized that I wasn't as interested in it when I started talking to him more and telling him my interest and why I have those interests. He started telling me, well, you know, there's like other opportunities. Maybe you want to help on my WASP project. And I was like, oh, and explained to me more about it. And so I was like, oh yeah, definitely. So don't be afraid if the research you do end up in isn't what you thought it was, or wasn't as interesting as you thought it was, or maybe you didn't have that connection that you thought you would have. Just communicate that to the professor and or the TA, whoever you are doing the research with, and they would gladly guide you to who else is doing research, because a lot of departments, they know who's doing what research, and they could always refer you to them as well. So don't feel bad if you're like, I'm sorry, but your research is not aligned with my interests. They're not going to feel bad, you know. So, but yeah, that's just my my advice, and then how I went about getting the research.
And to answer this other question that Lindsay asked, there are not any opportunities this summer for you to get involved in for research, but there definitely will be in fall. And we definitely had first quarter chance for students to participate in research opportunities. And so we'll be gathering, like Tyler said, that information and sending it out to all students in our major probably around the first couple weeks of the quarter. And so if there's opportunities you want to look into, you can definitely do so if you do want to get involved in your first quarter. But you don't have to get involved in your first quarter, and so don't put pressure on yourself to do that. You still have several other quarters. There's 3 quarters in a year, so you could try for winter quarter or spring quarter, or even wait till the following year and still have a really good opportunity.
But I think we'll end with this last question about just jobs related to public health and pre-med emphasis. So just to clarify, we don't have in sociology a pre-med emphasis. You can do one of our other emphasis areas and be a pre-health or pre-med student. There's a great resource on campus, and they do all virtual advising as well, health professions advising. There, and I'll put the website in the Q&A. And so if you're considering a pre-health path in public health, pre-med, any of the health professions, nursing, optometry, anything, they will help advise you on the prereqs you need for those programs and how to, you know, pursue that path. So they are a great resource you want to be using as a transfer student if you're thinking about that from your very first quarter on campus, because they will be very helpful to you. But in terms of, you know, sociology and public health, I think just kind of bringing it full circle to where we are currently right now in the COVID crisis. I mean, there's a lot of sociological questions, right, to be answered in terms of why this is impacting certain communities more than others, and social determinants of health, and kind of healthcare policy and healthcare reform that needs to happen, and all these things. So there are all those different avenues within health, and we actually have faculty who teach 3 different upper division health courses related to culture and health, population health, and healthcare policy. Those are all separate courses. So if you're interested in issues around health, we actually have specific sociology courses in that area that, if especially you're a pre-health student, would be really fabulous to take.
We're
I
also
don't know if
offering
Michelle
our
or Caroline.
Yeah, we're also offering our brand new
Yeah.
health and illness class. That's a lower division class in spring quarter too. So anybody who's interested in just learning about health issues in more of a general context, that would be a good one to take. It's brand new.
New things happening.
Does anyone want to mention our like MailChimp or newsletter that goes out?
Go for it.
Okay. So
Do a shameless plug.
On top of our like research opportunities, the sociology and anthropology department, or yeah, sociology department, we send out a weekly newsletter. So that's a great opportunity for you to check out like any research opportunities or any other opportunities on campus. We post upcoming like jobs, events, events right now in COVID time. So online events, yeah, any like research opportunities. There's a bunch of stuff on there. So be on the lookout for our sociology newsletter each week, which I think is really unique because a lot of departments don't usually do that.
And they're also accessible on Facebook too, so it automatically goes to our Facebook page.
All right, so I think we're actually past our time, so we should probably end here. But we are going to be available this summer for students who do decide to go to UC Davis and want to go through their orientation process. So hopefully we'll be talking to all of you individually this summer. Again, congratulations into being accepted to UC Davis. We're very excited that you're here and excited to meet you all.
I think there's one more question. I don't know if anyone can answer that, Kelly or Caroline.
The newsletter, where to find it? The newsletter gets emailed out every week to, once you're a part of our major and come in the fall, you'll be added to our listserv. And so we do send emails to the listserv that are relevant to sociology majors. And then the weekly newsletter does go out every week to that listserv. So you will automatically start getting it once you are a sociology major.
You'll automatically be on the VIP list for that newsletter for sure. All right, well, good luck everyone with the end of your spring semesters at your various community colleges. Thank you for joining us. If you have other questions, feel free to email any of the three of us. We'll be available all summer and we'll be seeing you for Ag advising, hopefully if you end up choosing UC Davis. All right, stay safe, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, and congrats.
Yeah, congrats.